everybody, this is Scott from NoLeftToMetal.com, and it's time for another edition of Heavy 70s, Hard and Heavy 1970s, and this edition is going to be 1973, and I have delayed a little bit on doing this episode because there's a couple records I really wanted to include that I don't own, and I was kind of hoping I would get them by this time, but I still don't have them, so I'm going to stop delaying. You know, the biggest in that batch would be Montrose. You know, the very first Rodney Montrose album, Sammy Hagar on vocals. He had songs like Space Station Number 5 and Bad Motor Scooter. It was just a great album, and it's just one that I don't own. Would love to own it, but I don't, so it won't be included in this list. Also, Black Oak, Arkansas, and Mountain were a few I would have liked to have included, and didn't have those either, so those aren't included as well. But yeah, I know there's a lot more than what I'm going to show, but I'm going to get right to it because there's a lot of records to show in a very short time. I'm going to start off with the New York Dolls. Very influential band. This is one of the ones I don't have on vinyl, but very influential band, especially on a band like Kiss. You know, Aerosmith too, another band that was very influenced by the Dolls. Punky, glammy, campy. It's the New York Dolls. They're really hard to describe. You kind of put the Stooges into a blender with like the swagger of the Stones and the riffs of like Chuck Berry, and you're going to get the New York Dolls. So that's how I would describe that record. Very early. I mean, 73. That's early for that style. I mean, you know, definitely ahead of their time. So had to include them. New York Dolls, and then Canadian-born Mahogany Rush, of course, Frank Marino. If you want to find an album that is very Hendrix influenced, this album here is probably the most Hendrix influenced album from the Mahogany Rush catalog. You know, people would often say that, you know, Frank was the reincarnation of Jimi Hendrix. And obviously, that's just silly, but the sound definitely Hendrix inspired. Heavy riffs, great guitar playing, great songs. Kind of a cool, trippy cover as well. Always kind of like the cover art. So, yeah. Mahogany Rush. This is before they start calling it Frank Marino and Mahogany Rush. Next up, Boogie Rock from FOGHAT. This is Rock and Roll. You know, when I was a kid, I never did understand why they had two self-titled albums. You know, because their first album was called FOGHAT, and then you had this album, which is, you know, pretty much called FOGHAT, but Rock and Roll. That's the name of the album. So, just, yeah, heavy boogie rock. I think there wasn't a whole lot of hits on this one, but there was the one track on here that they played on, let's see, what is it? Road Fever. Great track. Love this version. Love the live version even more. But classic record from FOGHAT. Heavy boogie rock. Rock and roll. Always to try to include one out of the box record in the in these heavy 70s, and I was going back and forth between Hawkwind and NEKTAR. Obviously, I went with NEKTAR. Remember the Future, probably their most well-known album. Fantastic record. This is actually a very influential record too, especially to a lot of those new wave of British heavy metal bands. Iron Maiden, Steve Harris has said this was a very influential record on him. So, heavy record? Not really. Prog, definitely. English-sounding prog, though NEKTAR were originally from Germany. Still a great record. Great record for 73. Well worth checking out if you're into, you know, 70s rock, prog rock, even heavy hard rock. It's just a good record. Keeping on with it, one of my favorites, Blue Oyster Cult, TYRANNY, MUTATION. Always love the cover art for this thing. Their first three albums are just, you know, monstrous. You can't even, I don't know, the trilogy, they're just perfect records in my opinion, from beginning to end. But I mean, this one had, you know, Hot Roads to Hell, and probably one of the more well-known songs on here. I think they even had a compilation named Hot Roads to Hell that came off, you know, this record. So, Blue Oyster Cults. Remember, back in the 70s, there was a promo release issued for this album, and it, I think it was this album. Anyhow, there was a promo release for Blue Oyster Cult with Aerosmith on the backside, and it said, you know, New York style heavy metal, or and that's definitely what you got right here. New York style heavy metal circa 73. And one everybody knows, Led Zeppelin, House of the Holy. This is just, everyone knows this record, but I really couldn't put a list together of heavy 70s without including Zeppelin, one of the, you know, forefathers of heavy metal and hard rock. Regardless if they considered a heavy metal band themselves, you know, everybody from Judas Priest down was influenced by Zeppelin. So great record. I always loved the cover art. Always loved the album. Just, you know, it's just not a bad song on here. There you go, House of the Holy. This is an original pressing. This one has recently been repressed with the rest of their catalog on 180 gram vinyl with bonus records and stuff. Alright, this next one I'm going to show is, people are going to say, I actually have arguments with people who claim that heavy metal never existed in the 70s, didn't exist till the 80s. But I mean, I've got so many magazines and books and stuff from the 70s that where the term heavy metal was used to describe these bands I'm showing, and this is just one example of it. This is Grooves magazine. This is actually a magazine from '78, but it was a bidding war, and you could actually write in and send in a little form on the inside of this thing to vote for whether or not Aerosmith or Queen were the you know, the Titanic battle for heavy metal crown. So which one was the best band in 1978? But just thought I ought to show this record before this magazine before I show this next record, because this is a really heavy record for '73. This is Queen, the very first Queen record. You know, I just think this is a fantastic record. It's I believe it's Roy Thomas Baker who produced it, and you know, it's got a bunch of hits on it. Keep Yourself Alive being probably the biggest one off of here that I can see. But Seven Seas of Rye, fantastic song on here. Not a bad song on it, really. I have two different editions of this one. This is a repressing from the probably 70s or maybe early 80s. And this is an original pressing. It's got a little bit of, quite a bit of ring wear, but what I like about it is it has, and if I can get enough reflection on it, you can kind of see the Queen logo is actually foil embossed, as it is back on the back cover on the original pressings. And the record's in fantastic shape, so yeah, I've got two copies of it. Always liked the that foil emboss on the original pressing. So Queen, 1973. Deep Purple. Who do we think we are? The original Mach 2 lineup, still heavy, still great. Most people don't hold this in as high esteem as some of the other records from that period, you know, like Machine Head and In Rock, and even stuff that came after this, you know, Burn. But this is actually a great record. It had the song, you know, the hit My Woman from Tokyo. My Woman from Tokyo. Great song. But my favorite song in here, Rat Bat Blue. I don't know, there's just something about that heavy funk that song has that just pulls me in. Love it. This is actually a gatefold. Might as well just pull it out and so show you the gatefold in this one real quick. I love reading all these little articles back in the day. So yeah, Deep Purple, who do we think we are? Good record. In some of my past 70s videos, I've been scolded, I'll say, for not including this band, and they really do belong in there, but there's just been so many great bands, it was always hard to include them because they're not real heavy, but they do rock hard. So ZZ Top, Tres Hombres. So there you go, ZZ Top in my top 20 for '73. Waiting for the Bus, Jesus Left Chicago, Beer Drinkers and Hellraisers, a song that Motorhead latched onto and did covers on back in the later '70s. Yeah, it's a fantastic record from the Texas-based power trio. Not much to say about it. I'm sure everybody knows who ZZ Top is. Definitely worth getting on vinyl as opposed to CD. The CD reissues from the 80s have the drums replaced and have that kind of fake sounding drum sound, whereas this sounds much more organic. Much prefer the vinyl to the CD in this case. Alright, keeping on. URIAH HEEP Live. One of the original first wave of British heavy metal bands. I remember when I had this as a young kid, I thought the cover kind of sucked. And it is a pretty plain, boring cover, but they were going for a look, you know, it's supposed to look like kind of like a ticket or a playbill or something like that. And then it came with the gatefold that had the photos of the band. Yeah, fantastic, you know, live release for URIAH HEEP. Captures that raw live energy from early URIAH HEEP, you know, which is most people consider the, you know, the best era of URIAH HEEP, that early '70s. And this right here the culmination of all that from the 70s. Other releases from them, you can see their classic catalog right there. URIAH HEEP Live, 1973. I have been trying to keep it to only one record per band when there is more than one released in the same year, but I had a hard time choosing between these two. Nazareth, the clear winner, probably, let's see, Razamanaz, I'd say. The song Razamanaz is stinking heavy, especially for 73. But man, this album is just so great. First of all, it's got a killer cover. I always love the peacock. And there's a cover on here of Bob Dylan's The Ballad of Hollis Brown. Heavy and dark. Can't go wrong with either one of them. Scottish band Nazareth with Razamanaz and Loud and Proud, 1973. Both killer records, worth checking out. All right, where are we at here? This band, known as one of the original bands to give you the twin guitar sound, but this is pre that. This is Thin Lizzy, Vagabonds of the Western World. This is when the band was still a power trio, still going after that mixture of Jimi Hendrix and Cream with that Irish folk sound. But this album contains a song called The Rocker, which would become, I don't know, it was kind of a look into what Thin Lizzy would become. And it would become a signature song for Philip Lynott, who would be known as The Rocker. Great record from Thin Lizzy. You know, like I said, very different from the dual guitar stuff that they did, you know, with Jailbreak and The Boys Are Back in Town, two of their most well-known songs. But still, very cool with the Irish folk influences, and worth checking out. Even if you're not a fan of the heavier stuff, this album might, you might enjoy just because it's got a lighter tone than some of the later Thin Lizzy albums. Vagabonds, and I always love the artwork too. The Fitzpatrick, I believe, he did this artwork and a lot of their artwork. Great record. Thin Lizzy. Alright, one that I've included some of their albums in other heavy 70s, and people have questioned whether they belong in there or not. I'm not sure why. This band was huge in the 70s. Even beat out the Beatles for selling out a few stadiums back then. They were huge, and I don't know why they're not still huge to this day. But Grand Funk were an American band. And of course that song is pretty poppy, but overall this record is pretty rocking, pretty heavy, pretty hard. You know, I wouldn't say metal at all. Just good, solid, straightforward 70s hard rock. Very memorable songs, and this gold foil cover is just a bear to keep from getting ring wear. I've never really seen a very perfectly clean one. As you can see, this one has a little bit of ring wear, but this one's fairly clean for an original pressing. It is a gatefold, which I guess I can show you. For some reason, all these bands in the 70s, and I don't know why, they felt the need to have pictures of themselves naked. That is the case here for sure. Whatever. There's a classic Grand Funk logo. Grand Funk, we're an American band. Moving on. One of my favorite records from '73. One of my favorite records of all time, really. Alice Cooper, $1 Billion Babies. Probably the height of Alice Cooper band right here. Just this album, there's just nothing wrong with it. It's a perfect record. Yeah, and here's the thing. It's like as you can see, it's got kind of the curved corners. It came in a I don't know, I guess it's supposed to be like a snakeskin wallet, and inside the wallet was, let's see if I can get this out of here. The odd shape doesn't fit real well into most of these sleeves. But here's your gatefold, and then it had this paper dollar inside of it that slid into the wallet. And most of these seem to be missing. Most of the presses I see of this is missing this dollar. I don't know why. People must have hung them on their wall or something. But there's the dollar, and then there's also these little cutout cards, and I've seen many of them where these perforated cards are ripped out. But this one here is in really good shape for an original pressing. Warner Brothers Records. And what's playing behind me is actually some live Alice Cooper from '73. Thought maybe if I played the live stuff, I might get away from the copyright dings from YouTube. We'll see. Alice Cooper, $1 Billion Babies, and the title track is just one of the most easily memorable songs ever. I mean, you can't even hear the title without singing it. $1 Billion Babies. You know, that's just the way it is. So, all right, we're getting to the bottom of the pack here. So, only 2 left. So yeah, I did this fairly quicker than some of the other ones. This is not probably a no-brainer for most people who know me. The self-titled album from Aerosmith. Got a bunch of different pressings of this one. This happens to be, see, this is from Holland, I believe. A Holland pressing, original cover with that spacey look and the orange sunset. This album was actually fairly scarce. I remember in the 70s and 80s wanting a copy of this original pressing, but everywhere you saw this pressing, it said featuring Dream On it. And this was probably the more well-known cover for this album. But these have since been repressed, and you can find these pretty much anywhere. Something most people don't know about this is the original pressing had the song Walking the Dog spelled wrong as Walking the Dig. This is not an original pressing with that on there, so it doesn't have that. But also, there's this big funny bio on the back. And on most pressings, it's shorter like this, but on the, because they cut some of the text out for some strange reason on further pressings. And I actually do have a pressing, see if I can find it real quick without messing up this video, that has the full pressing on it. Let's see here, here's one. So you kind of see the difference. It's just a ton more text, and they just cut a bunch of text out of that funny bio. I'm not sure why, I never did understand why, but regardless, Aerosmith, 1973, not a very heavy record, nowhere near as heavy as like a Rocks or Draw the Line or you know, Toys in the Attic. You know, songs like Sweet Emotion or Toys in the Attic is much heavier than this, but still a great record. Mamakin and One Way Street, great song. Of course, this big hit off this one, Dream On, which wasn't a hit when this came out for some reason. It became a hit several years later. But still, one of their signature songs. Most people would recognize just that song alone as an Aerosmith song. And of course, #1 from 1973. Can't really go wrong with this band. And you know, when it comes to hard and heavy. And I know some people are going to argue with me about the year of release, but Black Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. Some sites I've been on and some books, Martin Popoff's book has this released as 74, but the official release date, December 1973. So this is a 73 release, not 74, even though it was released in 74 in some other countries. So very dark, very heavy record. This particular copy is a repressing from, I don't know, it's probably a recent repressing because it's in such perfect shape on NEMS. Always thought that cover was just a bit scary. So you got the, you know, the evil dark side, and then you've got the light side with the angels and the blue color. I've actually seen, you know, the front cover, the back cover being the front cover in some pressings, and then the center spread. This one happens to be, I think, on a red vinyl, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath on red vinyl, it makes sense, right? So that's it. A heavy, super heavy record. The title track. Anthrax did a cover of that song. Great cover, great song. Sabracadabra. I mean, Killing Yourself to Live. It's Sabbath. It's Tony Iommi. I mean, the riff master. Geezer Butler. You know, the bottom end. You know, this is just now, of course, Ozzy Osbourne on vocals. Yeah, that's it. 1973, Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. So that's it. That's 1973. Do me a favor, and if you enjoyed this video, or if you agree or disagree, or is there something I missed, leave a comment below, and please do subscribe. I love talking music with people, love meeting new people, love your suggestions. I have left things out that I didn't think about when I was putting these videos together, so it's always great hearing from people, letting me know, hey man, you should have included this. You're probably right, I probably should have. So, that's it for this edition of Hard and Heavy 70s. Hope you enjoyed it. Got 1972 probably coming next. After I get through the 70s, I'm going to start the 1980s. Really hoping to get my good friend Trog in on that one, because we have good chemistry together, and that was our year, 1980s, some great stuff. So that's it for this edition. God bless. Stay strong.